Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well, having a good week. Today, we're going to be talking about a really critical topic of cybersecurity, and in particular, how you can protect your law firm from cyber attacks. Um, but to begin, why are you here? Well, most likely, you're an Arizona-based law firm, and you're curious, like, how can I protect the sensitive data that we deal with every day? What can we be doing to better protect our clients and our employees? You might have an IT department already, but are they really doing everything you need? Are there questions that you need to be asking them to help them do their job, or collaborate better to protect your law firm? And where do you start with all of this? I think that's probably the biggest question that most people have, because there are so many different pieces to cybersecurity. It's not just a single layer or a single solution that you can implement. So, where do you start? The amount of information available can be really overwhelming. Even if you're in the industry of cybersecurity, there's a lot to take in. So, even more so if that's not what you do for a living. So that's what we're going to talk about, and help you be able to digest and get through today during our presentation. Before we jump into all of that, well, who are we? Um, well, TechStop is a Northern Arizona based cybersecurity firm. We've been in business since 2017. And one of the big things that sets us apart from other IT and cybersecurity firms is that we have that cybersecurity first approach. We can't take cybersecurity as a secondary measure anymore, because at the end of the day, we aren't doing our clients any good if we don't make sure to protect them first. And we dig deep into your business. We're not just looking at technology. Unfortunately, if you only look at technology, that's one very small piece of the puzzle nowadays. We also have to dig deep into your business and find out how your business actually operates, how you get your work done on a day-to-day basis, and make sure that we understand the ins and outs of all your daily operations, so that we can make sure to identify risks and patch holes wherever they may be in your business and your processes, your systems, etc. And I'm Niles Bankhauser. I'm the CEO and founder of TechStop. My friends like to call me a cybersecurity superhero extraordinaire. I don't know about that. Maybe that's a little much. I don't know. But I've been in the IT and cybersecurity field my entire career. Started out doing some odd jobs with like Geek Squad and other local repair companies, and I've moved my on up from there, learning a lot of different aspects of the industry. Based out of here in Prescott, Arizona, and then in 2017, I opened up TechStop. I've always had a passion not only for technology but really business development. That's what I love more than anything else. Is how do we optimize processes? How do we push things to the next level? How do we help you kind of see that big picture and grow your business, protect your business, and really just win in various aspects of business? I really love doing that. And then being able to combine that with my passion for technology, using technology to your advantage, even though a lot of people like to kind of pose it as the unnecessary or the necessary evil. Instead, we can show you how that can be an asset, and really take advantage of all the technology we have at our disposal nowadays. So today, during our webinar, we're going to talk about cybersecurity, how it impacts your business, your law firm, how it can impact the people that you deal with inside and outside of the business, whether it's your employees, the the information that you protect with their files, and their information, your clients. What happens when that information gets out there and gets in the hands of cyber criminals? What kind of impact can that have on those clients as well as your business? What can you do to protect your law firm? There's, like I said, there's a lot of steps, a lot of information, a lot of steps involved, and it can be really overwhelming. So, what we want to do today is give you our four-step framework that helps you identify exactly what you need to be doing today. And on top of that, what your very next steps need to be to start on securing and protecting your business. Things have changed. Cyber attacks are going wild. Cyber criminals are attacking, especially small businesses, more and more every single year. And there's no sign that it's going to slow down. Unfortunately, cybercrime is a relatively safe criminal career. You don't see nearly as many cyber criminals getting arrested and thrown in jail as you do for other criminal career paths. And so this is making it an exponentially growing problem. On top of it, these cyber criminals are setting up HR departments and support teams and selling it as you would any other product, a bag of potato chips on the shelf. You can go online, purchase a cybercrime kit, so to speak, and start being a cyber criminal yourself with very little to no technical know-how. That's contributing to this problem as well. We're really invested in fighting these criminals. I think it's despicable what they're doing, and that's our mission at TechStop is to make sure that we do everything we can to avoid the devastating harm that cybercrime has in our communities, shutting down businesses in our local communities and across the U.S. And really, it'd be great if we didn't have to worry about cybercrime, but the reality is that we do. So, what do we do about it? These cyber attacks are evolving on top of it. What we did yesterday to protect our businesses can't be the same methods that we use today. If you have an IT department or an IT service provider that is sitting on the same methods of protection that they did 10 years ago, it's not going to be effective anymore. And that's just the reality of things. So we need to make sure that we continue to evolve our methods of protection while the methods of attack are evolving too. It can be, a kind of a back and forth battle, but it's really necessary because we rely on technology so much nowadays. So before we get into this framework, I want to talk about how it actually takes place. With the systems that we put in place for our clients, we get alerted, and in fact, recently we got alerted to an attack on a client's email system. Thankfully, we discovered that, after digging in, researching the problem, we discovered that the cyber criminals were not actually gaining access, but they were trying to get access to the client's emails. Because we had advanced monitoring and alerting set up, we were then able to go in, make some changes to their configuration that increased the security and stopped the attack in its tracks. So that's what happens on small, medium, and large businesses alike. You have to keep an eye on these things, otherwise they can sneak past you real easy. So, what does a reasonable cybersecurity program in your law firm actually look like? Well, we have a four-part framework that makes sure that we can encompass all aspects of your business, from the policies, procedures, and the technology, not just the technology. And then all of that is wrapped up with our cybersecurity risk assessments, something that we have to do on a regular basis to make sure that, again, those policies, procedures, and technology are really doing the job, meeting the goals, helping protect your business, protect your data, and keep you up and running and making more money. So, what do good cybersecurity policies look like? Well, these are going to be the written documents that talk about, in general, what you're going to be um, doing in your business. It's going to help keep everyone on the same page as to what is and is not allowed. Some examples here that we have is a WISP, or a written information security policy. This is going to describe how you handle sensitive information within your business, how you handle client names, addresses, social security numbers. If you do estate planning, for instance, you're going to have a lot of sensitive information about their trusts and wills, and details that need to be protected. So your written information security policy will go into a good amount of detail um, about how everyone within your organization needs to treat that data. A BYOD policy and acceptable use policy. These are ones that we recommend implementing right now. Start writing these up. But your BYOD policy will be bring your own device policy. How employees are or are not allowed to use personal devices for work. And there's different ways that you can approach it. You can not allow any personal devices, or you may have restrictions in place where your IT department needs to inspect and secure those personal devices if they are to be used for work. But nowadays, with work from home and remote work, these remote work scenarios, or even like hybrid positions, it's very common nowadays that employees want to use personal devices. It's convenient and it makes a lot of sense. But if they're allowed to use those without any restriction, it's a big risk to your firm. And then the acceptable use policy goes along similar lines of what are they allowed to and not allowed to do with the technology and resources in your business. It's again important that this helps everyone stay on the same page and understand what the expectation is, making sure they know that um, work computers are only meant for work, and you're not allowed to watch YouTube videos, maybe, or something of that nature. And it's an important policy for, again, protecting the information that you deal with on a daily basis. So these policies are one of the first steps that you want to implement and decide and make sure you understand what the do's and don'ts are in your business. Policies are then going to inform your procedures. The policies describe what you're going to do in general terms, but the procedures are going to discuss in detail how that can be done. So, a good example is that a policy might say, we are going to have antivirus on all of our computers. And the procedure for that would be, we are going to have our IT department install this antivirus, and we're going to monitor it to know if it stops working. And we'll get an alert and react to it. Right. So it gets more specific about how you can actually execute those policies that you have in place. This is really important not only for security, but also growing your business. If you have procedures written out, clear instruction, it's going to make it much easier to scale your business, and to make sure that everyone throughout the organization is performing a task consistently. You don't want to have Joe doing uh, this particular task one way, and then Sandra comes in and does it a different way, and the next thing you know, um, because they weren't on the same page, a big mistake happens and you lose some client information, and now you have to deal with the fallout from that, right? So it's important that you get these in place and make sure that all the employees know where to find the procedures when a disaster strikes. This won't completely shut down any sort of disaster, but when it happens, now you have a plan of action. You know exactly what you're going to do to deal with it. It makes things much easier to deal with. In particular, what we encourage you to do today is begin implementing a disaster recovery plan and an incident response plan. Your disaster recovery plan is going to discuss what happens in any sort of disaster, whether it's cybercrime or something like a natural disaster, a fire, earthquake, whatever it may be. These are going to be instructions for what steps to take, who to contact, in particular, different vendors, whether you need to contact your surveillance system company, your IT department, contacting your insurance company. All of that will be detailed out in your disaster recovery plan. It'll again make it much easier to recover from that. Instead of trying to fly by the seat of your pants and figure it out as you go, you might be able to get back up and running that way, but it's a lot harder. So, in the same line of thought, we want you to have an incident response plan. Now, this is similar to a disaster recovery plan, except it's more about security incidents and how you deal with responding to, researching, investigating, and dealing with any sort of security incident, whether that's a physical security incident or a cybercrime incident. Part of that policy needs to be, how do you identify and classify a security breach? That's step one, is finding out, has there actually been a breach? Who is responsible um, for dealing to taking reports of breaches, as well as investigating and managing the team during that time? You need to have a dedicated, designated security officer to handle those things. Once a breach has been identified, that it has actually occurred, what do you do? What are your next steps? Who do you talk to? Do you have your attorney, your breach coach? Unless you specialize in that in your law firm, you'd likely want to have that outside counsel uh, to help you through that process. And again, you know exactly who to call and what steps to take in order to investigate and deal with any sort of security incident. Now, obviously, cybersecurity involves technology as well. So, you have your policies in place and you have your procedures in place. Well, both of those are going to be held up by technology. Technology really should not be something that drags you down, but it should be one of your business's greatest assets. And it's going to help support those policies, procedures, and all of your business activities if implemented correctly. So, again, just like policies inform procedures, both policies and procedures inform technology and how it should be implemented. So it's really important that your cybersecurity provider is included in the planning phase and execution phase of all of these factors within your business, making sure that they understand what your business goals are, where you're headed in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, so that technology can be implemented to support you in those endeavors. Technology can help in many different ways. Protecting your resources, your data, your employee resources, all of those things can help increase efficiency. Obviously, that's something that's talked about a lot. Is how technology can help you run your business, faster and more efficiently and be more productive. It has to be implemented properly for that to be the reality. I'm sure all of you have run into technology that just seems so antiquated and slow and frustrating, right? One of the things that we do with our clients is make sure, let's get rid of those frustrations. Let's use technology the way it was meant to be, something that is enjoyable to use, something that makes you feel better about doing your job, right? And you know that it's also helping protect that valuable data you deal with. And then it can also be used to improve the customer experience. We look at this webinar platform, and how much easier it is nowadays logging in, being able to get this information from the comfort of your own office or even your home, right? That is what technology is about. It's about finding those advantages and the ways that we can improve our reputation, improve the client experience, improve our workforce experience. One of the big things, though, technology has just blown up like crazy, and work from home has blown up, especially post COVID. A lot of people are really embracing that. But there's a really big challenge for cybersecurity providers and your IT department. It's, how do you balance convenience and security? Very often, those are two ends of a scale. They don't directly coincide and play nice together, really, right? With security, you typically have less convenience, and vice versa. If if you lock your door at home, and you have a surveillance system that you have to arm and disarm when you come and go. That's better security, right? But maybe it's a little bit of a pain, not quite as convenient, right? But what would you rather have, you know? So you have to weigh those things. The same is true of technology and cybersecurity. It's not always the most convenient to have security. So we need to find a balance, and find the best way to implement security that is the most convenient that it can be without compromising on reasonable measures. What happens when you don't have a good cybersecurity framework in place? Well, Bricker and Eckler have something to say about that, don't they? They're paying out $2 million almost because of a breach that happened that revealed sensitive health records of their clients. So, when you don't take the right precautions, it can be devastating, not only for the people directly affected by the breach, but also for your business, financially, personally. It can take years to resolve these things. You know better than most that the court systems and these things don't move super quickly. And that's something that you can have to deal with for a long time after the fact. We had a local medical client here. Well, not a client of ours, but a local medical facility, a clinic, I should say, um, that got attacked by a ransomware attack, and they lost a lot of time and money and records, and it took them multiple years just to get the notices out to their patients about the breach. So they were dealing with it for a long time coming as well, and it's very common in these attacks, even for small businesses, that it becomes very costly, both financially and with your time. Now, there was a fourth piece to the framework, right? That's the cybersecurity risk assessment. This is a vital piece that can't be ignored. We talked about how cyber attacks are evolving every single day, right? So, how do you keep up with the changes that you need to make in your cybersecurity policies, your procedures, and your technology that we just talked about? How do you keep up with that? Well, regularly performing a cybersecurity risk assessment is going to be a vital piece of making sure that you keep up with everything happening within your organization, the new risks facing your organization, and how you can adapt and go back, revisit those policies, procedures, and your technology to reinforce your firm's cybersecurity. It's vital, it cannot be ignored. And you need to inspect all the pieces of your business. Look at your network, look at the data that you're dealing with, your cloud applications, which are becoming more and more common every single day. Cloud applications, although they seem like maybe, oh, that's that company that provides that application. They take care of security, right? Unfortunately, that's not the case. They are responsible for securing things on their side, but they're not responsible for securing your access to it. So it's important that we inspect those cloud applications. We need to keep an eye on the dark web, on where cyber criminals' focus is if you're on their radar already. And as we talked about, your policies and procedures need to be reviewed. It's not and forget it. Cybersecurity is an ongoing endeavor. It's really a journey that is so important today. So the cybersecurity risk assessment kind of covers and rounds back all those pieces of your security framework, helping you to reinforce the security of your law firm. So what do you do? What can you actually do to um, address all of that? Well, you can piece it together yourself. That's certainly something you can do. You can work with your IT department to figure out how to implement all of that, or you can work with a team of professionals such as TechStop, where we've already dedicated time and resources into developing a framework that will help protect your business today. That is everything we do. We live and breathe cybersecurity. We have a passion for helping you fight against these terrible cyber criminals that, again, one day, hopefully, we won't have to deal with it. But today, we do. When we work with you, Like I mentioned, we are deeply invested in learning all about your business, making sure that we are partners with you, helping you meet your goals while keeping you safe, keeping a constant eye on things, monitoring your systems, your data, the resources that you rely on to get your job done. We need to monitor those. We do monitor those. We get alerts when something's wrong, and we make sure that we're implementing our four-part framework with cybersecurity first and having the best resources available to you and your employees, your business that we can offer. So, what are your next steps? Well, we would like to invite you to book a free 15-minute strategy session with our team where we're going to discuss what your business goals are and how we can begin implementing this framework for you, protecting your business. All you have to do is visit techstopaz.com/book, and you can pick a time that works best for you, and we'll get started on a custom plan for your unique situation. I'd like to thank everyone for attending, um, and open it up for a few minutes of question and answer. Just go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. We'd be happy to answer those for you. So we got one question about protecting, making sure things are up to date and we're protecting against known vulnerabilities. So how would you do that? That's actually a really key piece as part of your procedures as well as your technology, making sure that you are monitoring for known vulnerabilities. There are different programs available out there that will automatically report back to you, letting you know, hey, we found this vulnerability on your system, and here's steps that you can take to remediate it. That's a really key piece of that, to make sure that it helps you keep up with the changing trends in cybersecurity. Okay. And all right, we have a question about social engineering attacks and how can you train your employees to be protected against those. So, social engineering attacks are really common, especially if you get on the radar of a cyber criminal and they're specifically targeting you. You may get very specially crafted phishing emails, known as spear phishing emails. These cyber criminals will even get on the phone with you and trick you into allowing them into your system, essentially. So, uh, the way that you need to implement a procedure, policy, procedure, and technology around social engineering attacks is making sure that you have a solid cybersecurity training program available to your employees and that you're requiring them to keep up with it. We deploy an annual and weekly training program that we make sure that is accessible to you and you can keep up to date with your employees, making sure that they're all taking this into account on a regular basis, staying up with cybersecurity trends so that they can help be a part of your defense strategy. Okay. Well, I want to thank you again for joining us, learning about how you can protect your law firm. Um, and we want to invite you again to book a free 15-minute strategy session. Visit techstopaz.com/book. And I look forward to speaking with you then. And, anytime you have questions or anything, please book that meeting and we'll be excited to help implement cybersecurity in your firm. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time.